When it comes to shocking TV deaths, Game of Thrones practically set the standard. From Oberyn Martell's skull-crushing defeat to Ramsay Bolton's poetic end at the jaws of his own hounds, HBO's fantasy juggernaut became infamous for mercilessly killing off beloved characters. Yet, even Westeros's blood-soaked history pales in comparison to another show's relentless carnage, Starz Spartacus, a series that turned brutality into both spectacle and storytelling. While Game of Thrones boasted an enormous body count, with over 100 named character deaths across 8 seasons, the sheer viciousness of Spartacus' kills remains unmatched. Nearly every significant death in the Starz original came with a gruesome flourish: dismemberments, crucifixions, arena executions, and slow-motion beheadings that became the show's grim signature. Game of Thrones killed for emotion. Spartacus killed for impact. Despite Game of Thrones' reputation for ruthlessness, many of its named deaths were more political than graphic. The series leaned heavily on betrayal and emotional devastation rather than relentless gore. Oberyn's shocking death, Viserys' molten gold crown, and Shireen Baratheon's horrifying sacrifice remain etched in viewers' memories not just for the violence, but for what they meant. By contrast, Spartacus took no prisoners, literally or figuratively. Over its 4 seasons, the show immersed audiences in the blood-soaked arenas of ancient Rome, where brutality wasn't just expected, it was celebrated. Its stylized violence, complete with slow-motion blood sprays and balletic fight choreography, was excessive by design. For Spartacus, violence wasn't just a visual gimmick, it was a language. Spartacus turned violence into art and symbolism. While Game of Thrones often cut away from gore to preserve its political intrigue, Spartacus zoomed in, turning each death into a thematic statement. The show's creative team used its hyperreal visuals to emphasize the pain, rage, and dehumanization of its characters, enslaved gladiators forced to fight for amusement. The result was a series that transformed carnage into commentary. The deaths of key characters like Batiatus, throat-slashed in operatic slow motion, Crixus, beheaded and displayed, Ashur, stabbed and decapitated, and Enemouse, brutally executed in the arena, weren't just shocking, they embodied the show's anti-imperialist core. Each act of violence reinforced the central message: freedom has a price, and oppression demands blood. Why Spartacus wins the brutality crown? By pure numbers, Game of Thrones had more deaths. But Spartacus made nearly every named character's end a visceral, unforgettable moment. For Starz, this wasn't just shock value, it was authenticity. The world of Rome's arenas was cruel, unforgiving, and deeply theatrical, and the show embraced that truth without compromise. In doing so, Spartacus achieved what few shows could. It made gore meaningful. The slow-motion bloodletting and operatic deaths weren't just for spectacle, they symbolized rebellion, pain, and human resilience under tyranny. Where Game of Thrones used death to advance power plays, Spartacus used it to explore the cost of freedom. Ultimately, Spartacus didn't just outdo Game of Thrones in brutality, it elevated violence into art. In its crimson-soaked legacy, every death had weight, purpose, and poetry.